Warning, all attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi everybody, this is Brett Lonsdale from Lightning Tools and welcome to another webinar. This week we're continuing with our SPFX web parts series and we're going to be focusing in on Lightning Forms, which is a SharePoint list form design tool so that you can bring in additional logic and improve the layouts of your SharePoint list forms. And the one we're going to be taking a look at today is the Lightning Forms SPFX web part, which is used for customizing modern lists and the modern list forms across SharePoint 2019 and also SharePoint Online as well. So before we get started on that, just a quick introduction to anybody that doesn't know Lightning Tools or know me. Yeah, Lightning Tools, we're a company based out of the UK. For the last 14 years, we've been providing different tools and web parts for SharePoint on premises and of course SharePoint Online, and evolved into Microsoft Teams as well. So the products that we provide, of course, the list form editor that we're going to be taking a look at today. But we also provide products around data visualization, such as our data view web part. We've also got permissions management tooling, content aggregation. If we have time, we'll spend a little bit of time on content aggregation today as part of the solution that we're going to be building. And we've also got a discussion forum tool as well within our portfolio. So all of these products, they're all available for SharePoint on premises and also SharePoint Online and Teams as well. So let's focus in on Lightning Forms and talk about that. So Lightning Forms, as I mentioned, it's a tool. It allows you to build improved forms around the SharePoint list forms, and these could be the out-of-the-box SharePoint list forms, such as contact lists or task lists or anything like that. They can also be custom lists. They can work with custom content types that you may have derived, and they also work with Microsoft lists as well. So if you attended Microsoft Ignite or any of the other events over the summer, you may have seen Microsoft lists. It may have already been available or made available to you inside your tenant, but you can actually go through and customize the forms that belong to Microsoft lists using Lightning Forms as well. Okay, so the idea behind the tool is to create an improved layout whilst still retaining that responsive modern form design and the look and feel of your SharePoint sites, but also to add logic and to bring these forms together as well in order to create an application, which is what we're going to be basically doing, is building a job application solution so that people can apply for jobs inside your organization. So the different features that the product provides, we've got the layout features. So first of all, it's a contextual design tool. So you're still within inside of SharePoint. You can launch the designer from within inside SharePoint. And within there, you can move all your different fields around and reposition them, resize them, and so on. But you can also work with things like the form size, whilst still retaining that responsive panel that pops out on the right-hand side for your forms. You can also work with multiple columns if you wanted, rather than just one column. If you wanted 2 or 3 columns side by side, you can achieve that. And you can also work with controls like tabs, so you can group the different fields together. And you can also bring in other lists into your form. So if you wanted to have what would kind of like be a one-to-many type relationship using more than one SharePoint list, you can achieve that using the sublists feature of Lightning Forms. And of course, just a simple thing that you may want to also do, sometimes it's great to be able to create explanations on these forms on how to complete them, or create headers and things like that, and that can be done with the rich text control. So there's lots of features around the layout that you can improve. And we've also got the logic as well. So you can create calculations behind fields, both as the initial value or the computed value, and go way beyond what you can achieve with SharePoint out of the box, but also in a sort of logical, intuitive way compared to things like Power Apps, where it's more complex for some users. You can also build actions. So these can be actions behind buttons, or they can be sorry, they're always going to be behind buttons. You can have form actions, or you can also have action buttons on your form. So things like the load event of a form, you could fire off additional actions at that time, or if somebody clicks the button, you can do some additional things. And this makes it simpler than sometimes doing more complex things with inside SharePoint workflows, or also Power Automate. If you're after a sequential list of actions taking place, that's something that can be done very easily using the action buttons. We've also got cascading lookups. They can be within a site, or you can also do cross-site cascading lookups, and also validation as well. And you can keep the logic very straightforward using the expression builder, but also if you wanted to get more in depth and build script, then that's also possible as well. So you can create advanced forms, or site owners, non-technical users, can very easily build the solutions that they need without having to get involved with any code at all. All right, so the benefits are, those site owners can build solutions. So if you're working with inside a department or a team and you wanted to build a business solution, perhaps you're not a programmer, you're not a developer, you're not going to be creating web parts, but you need some form of solution to serve a business need. Site owners can self-service and create that. The custom forms, they're basically maintaining that modern, responsive look and feel, so they'll work well on mobile devices. They'll also work well on iPads and so on, as well as the desktop. So resizing and so on is taken care of. There's nothing additional that you need to do there. The development of forms is contextual, as mentioned, so it's really intuitive and very cost effective as well. And basically, overall, you can help remote workers. So when you're building these form solutions for your team, if you've got remote workers, to replace some of those manual forms that they used to be completing in offices, then this is something that makes their life a lot easier as well. And if you're still on Classic, maybe you're on an older version of SharePoint on premises, there is a Classic version. We're going to be taking a look at the SPFX Lightning Forms version today, working with the modern list forms. But there is a Classic version as well, which is deployed through an add-in, and that allows you to customize the Classic look and feel of the SharePoint list forms. So we're going to build a solution here today, and what we've basically got is a number of different SharePoint lists that we're going to bring together into one solution, and that solution is going to be a job application solution. So you can list jobs that might be available inside your organization. People can apply for those jobs, and you can, as a hiring team, also comment on those applicants, and we'll build in some ways of tracking things like interviews and things like that as well for the different applicants. So we're going to do all of this without code and using Lightning Forms in order to build all of those customizations. So I'm just going to Alt-Tab now into SharePoint. So here inside SharePoint, you can see I'm on the Applicant Hiring team site here, and part and parcel of this solution is going to involve a SharePoint group, a group that contains users. So I'll just show you that first of all. I'm going to go into the site permissions here and click onto the advanced permission settings, and in here you'll see I've got this hiring team group, because what we're basically going to do is hide some of the functionality from typical users, so applicants and so on. They can apply for a job without realizing that the hiring team can actually comment on them, and basically they won't see that. We're going to obscure that from those users that aren't a member of the hiring team group. So we also have a number of different lists that we're going to be working with here as well. So you can see, first of all, I've got the available positions list, and the available positions list has a few different positions that I've already created. So these are all they're all being created using the out-of-the-box form. So you'll notice if I just click onto new here, then we can go through and create a job that has become available inside our organization. And one of the things that we're going to improve on this form that you can see here, the new item form for the available positions, is the lookup, because what I'm basically looking up from is a lookup list that basically has the location and the department to look up from. So you'll notice here, if we were to list a job that was available, so maybe we have a technical support rep, let's pop that in there. So we can describe that. So provide world-class tech support. again, we can put in skills such as SharePoint knowledge is required. And when we choose the location, so we've got the UK or the US, we can select that location and then we can select the department. But because this is coming from a lookup list, you'll notice that some of these departments are duplicated because we've got marketing in the US and in the UK. We also have tech support in the US and the UK. So what we're basically going to do is customize this form so that we can cascade this lookup. So depending on what I choose as the location, it's then going to filter out the lookup column to return only the departments that are based inside that location. And we can do that within the site, or like I say, also across site as well. And then we've also got the apply to, so who's the person that we're actually going to be applying to for this position. And what we're going to do with that is basically complete lists. So let's pop in a user in here. So we'll choose demo user 6 as an example, and we'll hit save on this one. So we get our new job being listed in here. And the next thing we want to do is when we click onto that and we're reading this job, is we want to be able to apply for it. So we're going to create a button on here that will allow me to apply for that position. And what that's going to involve is opening up another list, which is going to ask for all of my details so I can apply for the job and my resume and that sort of thing. But what we want to do is pass certain values to that list. So we're going to, behind the button, pass through some query string parameters such as who the application is going to, and also the title of the job and things like that will all go through to the other form. So we'll create that button very, very shortly. So just to show you some of the things that are going on here, so that was the available positions. This is the department lookup that we just talked about. So as you can see, we've got the location, so UK or US, and then each of the departments, and that's what we're looking from with the standard lookup column. It's just that we're going to do some filtering on that to make it more intuitive to fill out the form. And then we also have the applicants, and the applicants is made up of a contacts list. So it's using the contacts content type. We're going to reorganize this form so that it's not such a lengthy form to fill out. So we're going to have some different tabbed controls on here. Things like the resume will have its own tab, so you can copy and paste your resume into there. And notice that we've also got a lookup column as well. So that lookup column is allowing me to look up the position, and that's what we're going to specify the value for inside the query string variable, as with the apply to email. And the button on this form, when we submit the application, is then going to send an email to the person who listed the job, so they'll know that this applicant has applied, and we can then, from the hiring team perspective, go in and comment on that. So the hiring team is basically going to go through and list their comments on each applicant, rate them, obviously store who they are, and we're going to embed that on the actual applicant form, so it's local to the actual applicant itself. And we'll also use this interviews list as well, which is an events list, so that we can schedule some interviews. So that's basically going to be the solution that we're building here with Lightning Forms. So to get started, we're going to go into the available positions list, and we're just going to make a few customizations to that one. And we're going to start off with the Cascading Lookup. So what we're going to do is click onto the Lightning Forms customization dialog button at the top here, and notice here that it then lists all of the forms that are available to this underlying SharePoint list. So we've got the new form for creating new items, the edit form for, of course, editing existing items, and the display form. And each of those can all be customized individually, although I only actually have to customize the layout once on one of the forms, and then I can import that into the other two list forms as well. So we're going to start off with this one, the new form ASPX. So we'll click onto the customize button. That has launched the design interface, and we're not going to make too many changes to the design. We'll do more of that on the applicant form. But what I do want to do here is just create that cascading lookup. So as I mentioned, we can choose the location and the department. So what we're going to do here is click onto the field configuration for the department. And notice up here we can provide a lookup filter. So we're just going to fix that issue straight away by clicking onto the filter icon. And in here we can keep these simple, or we can go quite advanced with the queries. All I'm going to do is basically take that department title field, which is in the other list, so it knows we're looking up from that, and we're going to set that to the equal operator. We'll select equals. Of course, you've got all the other operators as well in there, and then we can choose where the value is going to come from that we're going to compare for the filter. So this could be an expression, it could be a hard-coded value, or it could be input on the form. And of course, I'm going to base this on the input of the form, which is going to come from the location field. So we'll select that location field and save our query. So that has now been saved, and if we were to click save and close on the form itself, click new, as though we're going to go and create a new available position or a new job. So we'll just call this one new job, and in the location we'll select UK, and now under departments we just see those departments that belong to the UK. We're not seeing any duplications. So, and of course, likewise, if we were to choose the US and so on, we see the relevant locations and relevant departments there. Okay, so that's fixed. We've got that working, which was, as you can see, easy to do using the cascading lookups. So the next thing that we want to do is actually do some work on the display form. So we're going to click onto the Lightning Forms customization dialog again, and we'll go through and customize the display form here, because this is going to be as though we're reading the job advertisement, and we want to now apply for the job. So notice we've got the command bar that lives inside every single SharePoint list form panel. So usually these have the save and close if it's a new form, or if it's an edit form, and it just has close if it's a display form. And of course, you sometimes see the floating buttons on the form as well. So what we're going to do is actually add a new button of our own. So we'll click onto the actions, and in here we could have a form load action. So literally, as this form loads, we can go and do something, or we've also got the command bar action as well. So I'm going to go against the command bar action and add our own button. So we'll click onto the plus here to create our own button, and I'm going to just put in the word apply so we can apply for a position. So yeah, we've got the display name. We also have an icon. There's all sorts of icons that you can choose from. So I'm just going to select one of those and click onto OK. So we've got a relevant icon, and then we can choose who this button is going to be visible or enabled for, what circumstance the button is visible or enabled. And I'm going to leave those blank for now. We'll do a bit of work on some visibility properties a little bit later on. So I'm going to go straight in and configure the actions. And the action here that we're going to perform is to actually go through and open another list form. So there's two that are similar here. We've got add list item, which we don't want to do, because that would actually be, we could go through and select like an applicant, but then we have to map all the fields, which we can do. So that's useful for like creating a tracking list or something like that. But there's also this other one, which is open list form, that we're going to use. And in here, I can choose where the list exists. So it's on this this site, and it's the applicants list. So we'll choose that. And we can choose the form that we're going to open, which is the new form, and the content type, which is contact. And we can choose whether we want to open that up in a new window or as a panel. And I'm going to go with new window, which is going to fill the screen. It'll still be the modern form. But the reason for doing that is because I want to be able to pass through some query strings here to the other form when it's open. And you can't do that when it's a panel because that's actually opening up as a obviously as a panel on the current page. It's not actually doing anything with the query or with the URL. So in here we've got the query string that we're going to build, and what we can do is just go through and add. As you can see, it's remembered it for me, which is handy. So I've got job title is equal to the title field. So we're going to get the title, which, as you can see, the background here would be sales assistant, and then we're going to get the apply to, which is here, the demo user 5. Now, just to show you, if you wanted to build that without it remembering that you did that when you practiced, we can go in here and into the expression builder and build that. So we've got job title equals title. These are all the different fields that make up the form. So if we hadn't have done this one and we wanted to put the apply to is equal to the apply to, I could just double click that. That's going to get whatever value is inside that apply to field. But it recognizes that this is a person field. So when I expand it, I can get at all of the underlying profile properties such as email or login name, depending on which one I want. Now I want the email because what we're going to do is also use that email address to email the advertiser of the job once somebody applies for it. So we'll save that. That's the query string created, and we've now got our new action button. So there's the apply button, and once we save that, you'll see that appearing at the top here. So that's hopefully going to be working well for us. Now, the other thing that we could do is also add on this form the applicants. So when you're viewing the job, we can actually go through and see who the applicants are. So we can do that by adding a sublist. So when I click onto the plus, we can see all the different fields that make up this list. We can also do that cross-site data lookup. We've got tabs and things like that, which we're going to be using a bit more of in a moment. And also in here, we've got all the other lists that make up this form. So I'm actually going to grab the applicants here and embed that on the form. And in here, we can choose a lookup column if one already exists, or if not, we can actually create another one. Yeah, I'll use the existing one that is already there, and we'll choose OK. And that goes through and embeds that applicants list onto the form. So when we're viewing the jobs, we can actually see who's applied for it. Now, we don't obviously want all the other applicants to see who else has applied for this position. So what we're going to do is actually hide this entire sublist by going into the configure expressions, and in here you've got whether it's visible or enabled. So under the visible property, we'll click onto the expression builder in there, and we're going to navigate to the contextual objects, of which I can get properties from the form, from the page, from the site, etc., and also from the user. And one of the user properties we can do is actually a function. We can see whether the user is a member of a group or not, and that group is called the hiring team, which we pointed out earlier on. So in here, I can just put in the hiring team, and that will now only be visible as a sublist to members of the hiring team. Okay, so we'll OK that, and that's that form complete. So we'll save and close this one. And just to show you, if we were to go into an existing item, so let's go into the account executive. So I am a member of that hiring team, so we can see the sublist on here, and there's the brand new apply button. So we'll click onto that, and what we should be able to see here on the query string at the top is it's passing through the title, which is account executive, and the apply to is the email address that it's the email is going to be sent to. So what we now want to do is actually pick up those query string values in the apply to email field, and also so we can map this in the position applicant lookup field as well. So we're going to grab those two values and store them and get them from the query string variable. So that's what we'll do next. We'll here in the applicants form, we're going to click onto the Lightning Forms customization dialog once more. And it's the new form that we want to customize. So we'll go through and customize that one. Okay, so we've got our form design, and as we scroll down towards the bottom, we're going to pick up that apply to email first of all. So in here we can configure the expressions, and we'll set the initial value. We could of course make this computed if we wanted to, but I'm going to make it initial so people can change it, but we'll just set it by default. So in here we've got all the different properties, and I'm going to go to page, the page properties, which gives me this get query string function. So we'll just double click onto that, and then I can put in the name of the query string parameter, which in this case is job title. Apply to. Okay, so we'll get that query string, value and save that for the initial value. And then we'll also go up to this position applicant lookup, configure the expressions for that one. And again, for the initial value, we'll do the same thing. So from the page, we'll get a query string value, and that query string will be this time the job title. Okay, so they will be populated for us as we go into the form and click on that apply button from the list of jobs. All right, the next thing we'll do just whilst we're inside the design is just tidy this up a little bit. So at the very top here, we can go through and add some other controls, and I'm going to go through and create a tab control. So the tab control, we can insert as many tabs as we need. So here I'm going to create 2 initially, and under the first one, we'll just double click that and then we can give it a name. So the name of this one will be contact details. And again, we can make that tab visible or not, or enabled or not. And the second one here, we'll double click onto that one, and this will be the resume. Okay, so we've got our 2 tabs, and within inside those tabs, we can change how many columns we're going to have. So rather than having 1 column, we'll make this form less lengthy by going with 2 columns. So we can choose 1, 2, or 3 columns in here. So we've got the columns now side by side, and then we can start to drag and drop these columns into the order that we want them in. So we can just simply drag and drop the first name, the last name, and the full name columns, the email address of the applicant, their current job title, etc. And we've also got the home phone, mobile phone number, etc. So all of these are really simple to just simply drag and drop wherever you want them to appear on the form. Okay, and I'll just do away with some of these to save a bit of time. We're not going to be filling them out anyway. So you get the idea that we can drag and drop those into that tab. And then under the resume tab, we'll drag that, we'll take up the full width of this tab so that people can either copy paste or type their resume in there. Okay, so they're the 2 tabs that we've got, and then we've got those the position applicant lookup, the average rating, apply to email, and so on, all there, which could actually even go under another tab, and then we could hide that tab if we wanted to. So, so this could be the hiring tab. So we'll do that and drag these fields into that section. Okay, and I don't need attachment, so I'll get rid of that. Okay, I think I accidentally moved that somewhere. Oh, there it is. It's at the top. There we go. Let's just remove that one off. All right, so we've got everything that we need. And like I say, if I wanted to hide that tab to just members of the hiring team, I could do that through here as well, which you've already seen. So there's our form. So let's save and close it, and we'll give that a go. So we'll go back to our available positions list. We see a job that we like, so we can go into the sales manager, read all about that one. Okay, so that the form is loaded, and now we can click on to apply. So that's opened up my new tabbed form interface, and hopefully on here we can see that the email address has been populated from the person that's advertising the job, and we've also got the lookup field populated as well for the sales manager, which saves the applicant from filling out those fields. So now it's just a case of filling out who we are. So I could put in Sandy Usia, and here's one of the problems with the contact list is you have to repeat that information in the full name field, so we can go through and populate that. And in here we could put in the email address and so on for that user, and paste their resume in here too. So we'll hit save. So that's gone through and created an applicant for that particular job, and hopefully if we go back into the available positions list and we open up the sales manager, we can see that Sandy Usia has in fact applied for that position. So that's linked through. And if we were to look at the sales assistant, then nobody's applied for that one. So this is linked through that lookup column. We can see who those applicants are. Okay, so just a couple of other things that we'll also do to this one. So on the applicant form, let's just go back to that. So what I want to do is take that design and the look and feel of the new form. Since that one's been customized, we're going to export that design. Let's go through and export that. That's going to go straight to my downloads folder. So it's called Applicants something or other. And we'll just save and close this, and we're going to import that into the edit form so that we get the initial experience of that layout. So as we go through and edit the applicant form, we'll go in here and choose import form. And from my downloads, let's just grab one of those. And there we go. We've got that same design now on the edit form, which has saved us a great deal of time. So that's been created. Now, also on this this edit form, there's a couple of other things that I want to do. So we want to also add another sublist. So we're going to create a sublist on here, and this is going to be the hiring team. So we'll grab the hiring team list, and this is where you can come in and you can comment on each of the different applicants. So we're also going to create this as a sub item. We'll use the lookup to applicants list or field and choose OK. So that will embed that, and this is where the hiring team can go in and comment. And again, we'd want to hide that from anybody that is not a member of the hiring team, which again you've already seen. But what we are going to do this time is actually take the average rating that everybody gives this applicant and just bring that up so we can score the applicant and grab that average rating. So the way that we would do this is by using a calculation. So this goes beyond the sort of calculations that you can do using a standard SharePoint list column. So in here, we'll go into the properties, and under this calculated field here, we're going to click onto that expression builder, and we can do some calculations using the fields that are on the form, but I'm also going to go in and expand this sublist section here. And inside the sublist, we've got the hiring team sublist, and there's the rating between 1 and 10. And what we're going to do is just take the average rating. So we'll double click onto that, and we'll then calculate that average rating and score it here. Okay, so that's that created, so people can now go in and comment on whether they want to hire this person or not. And the other thing that we might want to do on here as well is create another little action button, and I'm going to put in check LinkedIn as a button. So we'll have a little check LinkedIn button. Of course, maybe find a little LinkedIn icon for that. I'll just stick with the default one. And under configure actions, what we're going to do in this action is to just open up a web page. So I'll open up a web page, and I'm going to copy paste a URL in here, and we'll just modify that URL using some of the fields on this form. So where we've got Sandy Usia, which was my search query with inside of LinkedIn, I'm actually just going to go and grab the first name column and replace Usia with the last name column, which is the title in this case. All right, so we have ourselves a new button that will go through and open LinkedIn up in a new window and allow us to go through and check out that person. Okay, so we'll save and close this and give that a go. So we've got our new applicant here of Sandy, so we can go in and edit this item. We've got our new tabbed interface here. We can change the size of this form a little bit if we wanted to, so that it changes the initial design, and then here we can go through and rate this person. So I can click onto new. That will open up the hiring team form. So Let's just put in those comments, and we can put in a rating in here as well, and list who I am, and we'll hit save. So we've then got one comment against this particular applicant, and if we go across to the hiring, we can see that average rating has come through from that particular item. So the more people that rate that, we're of course going to get that average rating coming in. Okay, so then we can of course go in and see who's rated at what level, and hopefully if we hit the check LinkedIn, it's going to go ahead and do a search and bring back Sandy Ucia based on that first name and last name that we appended from the details here. Okay, so that's the sort of thing that we can do there, and there's one more button that we're going to add onto the applicant form. So we'll jump back into that. We'll go back into the new form. And in here, we're going to create a submit button. So we've currently got a save and a cancel, which we're going to leave, but we're also going to add a submit. So we can submit our application. Again, choose a relevant icon. And under the actions here, I'm going to just string a few actions together. So the first thing we can do is save the form, and then I'm going to add another action, which is actually going to be a send mail. So we'll send an email as part of this. It's going to be sent from the current user because they are the applicant. So in here, we can go through and grab the email address of the current user from the user profile properties, and it's going to be sent to the apply to, which remember we populated through the query string, and the subject is going to be the title of the job, which is here. So we'll get that, and in here we can then write in our message. So and in here we could pass through whatever fields we wanted to and concatenate those into an email. Okay, so we've got the save form, got the send email, and we're just going to thank the applicant. So what we can do is show a message, and that message could be a status of success, which will display for 5 seconds or so, and we'll just say in here, thank you for your application. Okay, so that's all populated. And the last one that we'll do here is going to just be a so if I can recall, a close form. So there we go. We've got the close form, and save it. So that's all done. We've now got our new button that's actually stringing through a few different tasks together as different actions. So we'll save and close that again. And here, if we just jump back into our available positions, let's select a software engineer this time, and we'll apply. So we can fill out those details. And rather than hitting save, we'll hit submit, which should send an email to this address and also give us that feedback as well. So there it is, there's the submit, and there's our little message to say thank you for your application, and that email has now been sent as well. And then of course we close the form. All right, so that's the type of thing that we can do there. We could go on and of course do a bit more with the different layouts and so on. We could also populate the interviews list if we wanted to invite this user into an interview, and we can also do things like validation as well. So on the hiring team, I actually had this rating of 1 to 10, but there's nothing stopping anybody from putting 11 in there. So what we could do is also add a bit of validation onto our forms too. So as we go in and customize that, we can select the hiring team, the rating field from the hiring team. And in here, we've got the required and the validation text. So under validation, we can take this field and say it should be less than or equal to 10. And the nice thing about this is when you're designing your conditions, you can actually test them against some of the different list items that you've got inside that list. So here we can see what the result is going to be for those, and if we're satisfied with that, then we can go through and just add in our valid text. Oops, this time. There we go. So we've got validation as well that we can do, and also to point out that all of these expressions that we do, you see me using the expression builder, but if at any point you want to write code against these, you can put in code here as well, and go beyond the means of what the expression builder provides you with. But a lot of the things that we've been doing, of course, doesn't require that. All right, so that's some of the things that we can do with the Lightning forms in order to build a solution. And the last thing I just want to show you here is we're going to go in and just add a page where we could report on some of this stuff actually with the Lightning conductor. So we'll call this job applications report, and I'm going to just simply go in and drop in 2 instances of our Lightning conductor web part. And if you were here last week, you'll have learned quite a bit about the Lightning conductor and the capabilities. But what we're going to do is just do a simple, or not even roll up, we're just going to go and connect to that individual list. So here inside this current site, we need to go down to list level, and we're going to display all the available positions. Select the columns that we want from that, which are going to be the title column, and we'll just drag that up because we want that to be the first one, and we'll have the department and the apply to. So these are the fields that we'll display in that top list, and we'll just save that. So we've got those available jobs listed there, and then we're going to go through and configure a second instance of the Lightning conductor. And this is going to link through to the different applicants. And from there, we'll take the last name and the first name, of course, which is there. And we also want to have that lookup column in here, and of course any of the fields that we also want to bring through, such as current job title and things like that. So we'll display that. So we can see the applicants and what position they've applied for. But what we now want to do is actually link these two together so we can drill into this information. So to do that, the first one, we need to turn on this allow selecting rows. So we can select a job, and in the second instance, we're going to filter based upon that selected row. So as we go into the columns tab, under this position applicant lookup, we'll click onto the filter icon, and we're going to use a web part connection to basically go and grab from the previous Lightning conductor the selected item and the title, and map that to this position applicant lookup. And whilst we're in here also, we'll just take that average rating column. So we'll display that here in the list as well. And that average rating column, I'm actually going to do a little bit of formatting on to display a data bar, which of course will have the maximum value of 10. Okay, so we've got that. And now if we publish this page, we can select each of the jobs and see who's applied for each of these jobs. So took the third one to get down to the software engineer, and we can see that Carl Greenhouse has applied for that position. Okay, so this is a great way to sort of report on some of those items by using the Lightning Connector. All right, so that's a quick tour of Lightning Forms, and of course a little snippet of the Lightning Connector. And what we'll do now is just open up, see if there's any questions. And if you want to have a go at using Lightning Forms in your own environment, you can actually download a trial of it. So just go across to lightningtools.com, and under the products menu, you'll see the SPFX version, the modern version of Lightning Forms, and you can download it from there. And that's good for 30 days using that trial. But also contact us if you want to have a private demonstration as well, if you have a specific need of how you want to use it. So I'm going to open up for questions. If you want to put a question in the questions panel, you can do that. Also, if you want to raise your hand, if you want to ask a question verbally, you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Okay, so looks like there is a question in here, just a couple of questions. Sorry, just resizing this so I can read it. Okay, so can you demonstrate how to format the text within a send email action? Okay, great question. So that's actually, it comes through as rich text, or you can have plain text. So there is the option of that. So if you want to be able to format that, that would be using effectively HTML. So you can create links and things like that using HTML to design that email. So yeah, certainly I've got your details, so I can drop you a line with how to achieve that. And it's a good thing to bring up, actually, things like formatting. This is on our roadmap, so you will soon be able to customize the formatting as well based on rules and conditions. So effectively, you'll be able to do conditional formatting on the list form, as well as things, of course, that you can already do, such as hiding and showing fields and things like that, or using the validation controls. So some custom color formatting based upon conditions would also be useful. So that's something we can do. So there's another question here is, can I use the customized form in Teams? So yeah, absolutely. If you use the SharePoint tab inside the team site, and choose the list that you want to display inside that Teams tab, it will, of course, render these same custom forms. So you could go through and complete these forms through Teams as well if you wanted to. So yeah, absolutely, that can be achieved. Good. I think that's the only two questions that I can see. So yeah, I'll thank you all for attending. I hope you found that useful. And if there is any feedback, please email me on brett@lightningtools.com. That's BRETT@lightningtools.com, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you've got. So yeah, thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of your day, and hopefully, if you can come by or keep an eye on our webinars, then yeah, we'll be doing a few more SPFX webinars as well over the forthcoming weeks. All right, thank you very much, everybody. Take care.